Who sent you? He slammed her face into the concrete. Blood sprayed across the floor. Answer me! Maya Sterling's skull rang. 12 Navy SEALs surrounded her. The most lethal men in America. All convinced she was an enemy spy. Chief Warrant Officer Marcus Drake wrapped his hands around her throat. Squeezed. Her vision darkened. Some Pentagon princess playing soldier. He spat the words. You don't belong here. She couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. But through the pain, through the blood filling her mouth, Maya smiled. Because 8 of these men existed only because she had trained them. They just didn't know it yet. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, subscribe now and stay until the end. Comment your city below so I can see how far this story travels. What happens next will leave you breathless. The zip tie bit deeper into Maya Sterling's wrists. She could feel her pulse throbbing against the plastic, each heartbeat sending waves of pain up her forearms. But she didn't cry out. She didn't beg. She simply watched Chief Warrant Officer Marcus Drake with eyes that held no fear. Drake leaned closer. His breath was hot against her face. I asked you a question. Who sent you? My orders came from SOCOM Commander General Patterson. Maya's voice was steady, almost bored. They're in my bag, the one your men threw against the wall. Drake laughed. It was an ugly sound. Orders can be faked. Credentials can be manufactured. You know what can't be faked. He grabbed her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. The look of someone who belongs here. And sweetheart, you don't have it. The 12 SEALs surrounding them said nothing. They stood like statues carved from stone, and silence weapons, ready faces, blank. These were men who had killed in darkness and returned to daylight without blinking. They followed Drake without question. All except one. Senior Chief Jake Thornton stood near the door, his hand resting on his sidearm. Something was wrong. He could feel it in his gut, that instinct that had kept him alive through 3 combat deployments and more close calls than he could count. The girl on her knees wasn't acting like a spy. She wasn't acting like anything he'd ever seen. Chief, Thornton's voice was low, careful. Maybe we should verify her documents before what? Drake spun toward him. Before she transmits our training protocols to whatever foreign intelligence service bought her, before she compromises every operator in this building. He pointed at Maya. She walked into the most secure naval facility in the country with a smile and a handshake. That doesn't happen by accident. I had an appointment. Maya spoke again, and something in her tone made 3 operators shift their weight. Check with Commander Williams. He's expecting me at 1,000 hours. Drake pulled a phone from his pocket. He dialed. Waited. His jaw tightened. Williams isn't answering. Because he's in a briefing until 0955. Maya tilted her head. Which you would know if you'd read the daily schedule. It's posted outside the operations center. 3rd bulletin from the left. The room went still. Drake's face darkened. He crossed the distance between them in 2 steps and backhanded her across the face. The impact snapped her head sideways. Blood appeared at the corner of her lip. You think you're clever. His voice had dropped to something dangerous. You think memorizing schedules makes you legitimate. Maya turned back to face him. She didn't wipe the blood away. She didn't flinch. She just looked at him with those calm, calculating eyes. I think you're scared, she said quietly. I think someone sent you intelligence about a female infiltrator, and instead of verifying it through proper channels, you decided to play interrogator. I think you've spent so long fighting enemies that you've forgotten how to recognize an ally. Drake's hand closed around her throat. Thornton stepped forward. Chief, stay back. Drake's grip tightened. Maya's face began to change color. I've seen her type before. Young, pretty, confident. They send them because they think we'll let our guard down. They think we're weak. Maya's lips moved. She was trying to say something. Drake loosened his grip just enough. What? The man behind you. Maya's voice was a rasp. Peterson. He favors his left knee. Tore his ACL in Bud's class 287. The one by the window. Kowalski. He hasn't cleared the malfunction in his weapon. It's been jamming since the training exercise last Thursday. Her eyes locked onto Drake's. And you still drop your right shoulder before a strike. I designed the simulation that was supposed to fix that. Apparently, you didn't complete the full program. The words hit the room like a grenade. Peterson looked down at his knee. Kowalski's hand moved involuntarily toward his weapon, and Drake's face went pale. How do you know that? His grip loosened further. How the hell do you know that? Maya drew a breath. Her throat was already bruising. Because I know everything about every man in this room. Their strengths, their weaknesses, the mistakes they make under pressure. She paused. I designed the Trident system. I've trained all of you. You just never saw my face. For 3 seconds, no one moved. Then Drake released her and stepped back like she was on fire. That's impossible. His voice had lost its edge. The Trident system was developed by a team at Naval Research. It's been operational for 2 years. Correct. Maya rubbed her throat with her bound hands. A team that I led, remotely, through classified channels. I was 17 when I wrote the first combat algorithm. I was 18 when the Navy adopted it for special operations training. She looked around the room. Every scenario you've ever run, every simulation that taught you how to breach a room, clear a building, survive an ambush, I created them. All of them. Thornton moved closer. His mind was racing, trying to process what he was hearing. A 20-year-old girl claiming to have designed the most advanced military training system in existence. It was absurd. It was impossible. Except, he remembered something. A briefing 3 months ago. A name mentioned in passing. Sterling. The daughter of a fallen SEAL who had contributed to training development. He had assumed it was administrative work, paperwork, the kind of thing grieving families did to stay connected. Your father. The words left Thornton's mouth before he could stop them. Commander Elijah Sterling, SEAL Team 6. Maya's expression flickered. Just for a moment, something passed through those calm eyes. Pain. Old and deep, and carefully controlled. Yes. Drake was shaking his head. Elijah Sterling died 4 years ago. Yemen. I knew him. He never mentioned a daughter he never mentioned me to anyone. Maya cut him off. That was the point. He knew what I could do. He knew what it would mean for his enemies to know I existed. Her voice hardened. So he kept me secret. He trained me in silence. And when he died, I continued his work, in silence. The room had changed. Thornton could feel it. The aggressive energy that had filled the space moments ago was transforming into something else. Uncertainty. Doubt. But Drake wasn't finished. This is exactly what an infiltrator would say. He was grasping now, trying to hold on to his conviction. A perfect cover story. Daughter of a hero. Secret genius. It's too clean. Then test me. Maya's response was immediate. Put me in the simulation. Any scenario. Any difficulty level. If I fail, you can hand me over to Naval Intelligence and I'll answer every question they have." Drake laughed again, but this time it sounded hollow. "The Trident system level 5 has a 93% failure rate. Operators with 10 years of experience can't pass it." "I know," Maya smiled. It was a small smile, dangerous in its confidence. "I designed it that way." Thornton watched Drake struggle with the decision. Pride warred with curiosity. Suspicion battled with the need to know. Finally, Drake made his choice. "Fine." He gestured to 2 operators. "Take her to the simulation center. We'll see how long she lasts." They cut the zip ties from Maya's wrists. She stood slowly, rolling her shoulders, flexing her fingers to restore circulation. The marks on her wrists were angry red, already swelling. She would carry those bruises for weeks. But she said nothing about the pain. She simply walked toward the door with the 2 operators flanking her, moving with the easy grace of someone who knew exactly where she was going. Thornton fell into step beside Drake as they followed. "Chief," he said quietly, "if she is who she says she is, she's not. But if she really designed Trident, then what we just did was necessary." Drake's voice was iron. "Until we know for certain she's a threat, I don't apologize for protecting my men." The simulation center was housed in a reinforced building at the heart of the compound. Inside the Trident system waited a full immersion combat simulator that used advanced projection technology, haptic feedback, and AI-driven opponents to create scenarios indistinguishable from real combat. Operators who entered Trident often said it was more intense than actual deployment. The system learned, it adapted, it exploited weaknesses with surgical precision. And now the young woman who claimed to have built it was about to face it. Maya stepped into the preparation area. A technician approached with the sensor suit, a lightweight mesh of electronics that would track her every movement and translate it into the virtual environment. Scenario selection. The technician looked at Drake. "Level 5. Drake's smile was cold. "Urban extraction. 8 hostiles. 2 hostages. 6-minute time limit." The technician hesitated. "Sir, no one has ever completed Level 5 urban extraction on their first attempt. The average completion time for successful operators is 9 minutes with a 40% casualty rate." "I'm aware." Drake didn't take his eyes off Maya. "That's the point." Maya said nothing. She simply pulled on the sensor suit, adjusted the VR headset, and stepped into the simulation chamber. The door sealed behind her. Through the observation window, Thornton watched as the chamber came alive. Walls of light surrounded Maya, transforming into the broken streets of a Middle Eastern city. Destroyed vehicles, collapsed buildings, and somewhere in that digital maze, 8 hostiles and 2 innocent lives. The timer started. 6 minutes. Maya didn't hesitate. She moved immediately, her body flowing through the virtual environment like water through cracks in stone. Within seconds, she had identified cover positions, mapped sight lines, and begun her approach to the target building. "She's fast." The technician's voice was tinged with surprise. "Really fast." Drake said nothing. His arms were crossed, his jaw tight. The first hostile appeared at the 90-second mark. Maya neutralized him before he could raise his weapon, a precise strike to the throat followed by a controlled takedown. No wasted movement. No hesitation. "Contact 2. The technician was tracking her progress on a secondary screen. She's already passed the first checkpoint." Thornton leaned closer to the glass. Maya was moving through the scenario like someone reading a book they had memorized. Every turn was anticipated. Every threat was met before it fully materialized. At the 3-minute mark, she had eliminated 6 hostiles and located the first hostage. That's not possible. Drake's voice had lost its certainty. She's never run this scenario. The AI randomizes hostile positions. The positions are randomized. Maya's voice came through the chamber's speaker system. She had activated her microphone. But the behavioral patterns aren't. I programmed 17 base response algorithms. Your AI combines them in different ways, but the foundations are always the same. She took out another hostile without breaking stride. Right now, your 7th hostile is circling to flank me from the east. He'll appear in 4 seconds. 4 seconds later, the 7th hostile appeared exactly where she said he would. She dropped him with a single shot. The room had gone completely silent. Every operator present was watching now, their earlier hostility replaced by something that looked almost like awe. Maya reached the 2nd hostage at the 4-minute mark. She extracted both civilians and began her movement to the exit point. 30 seconds to completion. The technician's voice was barely above a whisper. She's going to do it. Drake stepped closer to the glass. His face was unreadable. The final hostile appeared at the exit point exactly where he should be, exactly when he should be. Maya didn't even slow down. She moved through him like a ghost, her counterstrike so fluid it barely registered on the motion sensors. The timer stopped. 4 minutes. 47 seconds. 0 casualties. The simulation chamber powered down. Maya removed her headset and stepped back into the observation room. Her breathing was slightly elevated, a thin sheen of sweat on her forehead, but her eyes were steady. She looked directly at Drake. "I didn't design Trident to be beaten," she said quietly. "I designed it to expose weaknesses, to push operators beyond what they thought they could survive, to make them better." She paused. "But you can't improve a system you don't understand, and no one understands this system better than I do." Drake stood frozen. The foundation of everything he believed had just cracked beneath his feet. Thornton's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and felt his blood run cold. "Chief," his voice was strange, tight. "We have a problem." "What?" Thornton showed him the message. 3 words from base security. "Perimeter breach. Armed hostiles." The lights in the building flickered. Then the alarms started to scream. Through the window, Thornton could see figures moving at the edge of the compound. Dark shapes, tactical formation, professional movement. This wasn't a drill. Drake spun toward his operators. "Everyone weapons hot. We're under attack." Men scrambled for positions. Weapons were checked and readied. The controlled environment of moments ago erupted into controlled chaos. And in the middle of it all, Maya Sterling stood perfectly still, her eyes scanning the darkness beyond the windows. "They're here for Trident," she said. Her voice cut through the noise like a blade. "They're here for the system I built." Drake grabbed her arm. "How do you know that?" Maya looked at him. In her eyes, something had changed. The calm was still there, but beneath it now was something harder. Something that looked like war. "Because the false intelligence you received about me, the message that made you think I was a spy." She pulled her arm free. "It came from the same people who are attacking this base right now. They needed you distracted. They needed everyone looking at me instead of watching the perimeter." The truth of it hit Drake like a physical blow. He had been played. They had all been played. "Chief!" One of his operators was at the door. "We've got 16 hostiles approaching from the north. They've disabled our communications. We can't reach command." Drake's mind raced. 16 hostiles. His team was down 3 operators who were off base. They were outgunned and outpositioned, caught in a building designed for training, not defense. He looked at Maya. She was already moving toward the tactical display on the wall, pulling up facility schematics with the familiarity of someone who had studied them 1,000 times. There's a service tunnel under Building C. Her finger traced a path on the screen. It exits behind their primary position. They won't expect a flanking assault from underground. How do you know about that tunnel? Maya's jaw tightened. Because my father used it during the 2019 security exercise. I designed a simulation based on his tactical reports. She turned to face Drake. Give me 2 men and 4 minutes. I can collapse their flank and give your team a fighting chance. The base shook as an explosion echoed somewhere in the compound. They were out of time. Drake looked at the young woman standing before him. 20 years old, 5'6", 120 pounds. 10 minutes ago, he had been convinced she was the enemy. Now she might be their only hope. Thornton. His voice was hoarse. You and Peterson. Go with her. Maya was already moving toward the door. She paused at the threshold and looked back at Drake. For what it's worth, she said, my father told me about you. He said you were one of the best operators he ever served with. He said you had instincts that couldn't be taught. Her eyes held his. Trust them now. Hold the main position. Draw their fire. We'll do the rest. Then she was gone, disappearing into the corridor with Thornton and Peterson on her heels. Drake watched her go. His throat was tight with something he couldn't name. Outside, the sound of gunfire erupted. The battle for Naval Special Warfare Command had begun. The tunnel was dark, cold. The kind of darkness that swallowed sound and made every breath feel like a confession. Maya moved through it without hesitation. Her footsteps were silent against the concrete floor, her body low, her movements precise. Behind her, Thornton and Peterson struggled to keep pace. How can you see anything? Peterson's whisper echoed off the walls. I can't. Maya didn't slow down. But I've walked this path 417 times in simulation. I know every turn, every crack in the floor, every place where the ceiling drops. Thornton felt the ceiling brush against his helmet. She was right. Your father. He kept his voice low. He really ran this route, 2019, security exercise. He identified this tunnel as a critical vulnerability. Maya's voice was flat, professional. He filed a report recommending it be sealed. The Navy decided it was too expensive. Typical. He said the same thing. They moved in silence for another 30 seconds. Above them, muffled by concrete and earth, the sounds of gunfire continued. Drake and his team were holding. For now. Maya stopped suddenly. Thornton nearly crashed into her. What? Listen! Thornton held his breath. At first he heard nothing. Then faint, but unmistakable the sound of footsteps. Multiple sets, coming from ahead. They know about the tunnel, Peterson's voice cracked. How do they know about the tunnel? Because someone told them. Maya's jaw tightened. Someone with access to my father's reports. The implications hit Thornton like a hammer. A leak. Inside Naval Special Warfare Command. Someone had sold them out. We need to go back. Peterson was already turning. No. Maya grabbed his arm. If we go back, Drake's team gets flanked from both sides. They'll be slaughtered. She released him. We go forward. We take them before they take us. There could be 6 of them. 8. We don't know. 4. Maya's voice was certain. I can hear 4 distinct footfall patterns. 2 heavy, probably carrying automatic weapons. 2 lighter moving point and rear guard. She paused. The point man has a slight limp. Right leg. Old injury, maybe shrapnel. Thornton stared at her in the darkness. How the hell do you know that? My father taught me to listen. Really listen. Something shifted in her voice. He said sound was a weapon most soldiers never learned to use. Peterson was breathing hard. Even if there's only 4, we're in a tunnel. No cover, no room to maneuver. This is a death trap. For them. Maya moved again, faster now. Stay behind me. When I engage, you push through on my right. Don't stop. Don't look back. Get to the exit point and hit their main force from behind. What about you? Maya didn't answer. They covered another 50 meters. The footsteps ahead grew louder, closer. Thornton could feel his heart slamming against his ribs. 20 years of training, and he was about to follow a 20-year-old girl into a firefight in a concrete coffin. Maya stopped again. Her hand came up. 3 fingers. 2. 1. Then she moved. Thornton had seen combat. He had witnessed violence in forms that would haunt him until he died. But he had never seen anything like what happened in the next 8 seconds. Maya flowed into the darkness, like something not entirely human. There was a grunt, a sound of impact, then a body hitting the floor. A muzzle flash lit the tunnel for a split second, and in that frozen moment, Thornton saw her already past the first hostile, her elbow driving into the throat of the second. Move! Her voice cut through the chaos. Thornton ran. Peterson was beside him. They pushed past struggling bodies, past the sound of bones breaking and men screaming. They didn't stop. They didn't look back. The exit was ahead. A thin rectangle of gray light that meant fresh air and open ground. Thornton burst through first. The night hit him like a physical force, cool air, the smell of smoke, the distant crack of gunfire from the main compound. He dropped to one knee, weapon up, scanning for targets. The enemy's rear position was 30 meters ahead. 4 hostiles focused entirely on Drake's team. They hadn't heard the tunnel exit open. They didn't know death was behind them. Peterson took position beside him. Where is she? As if in answer, Maya emerged from the tunnel. Her face was spattered with blood. Her hoodie was torn at the shoulder. But she was moving, still moving like a machine that didn't know how to stop. 2 down in the tunnel. She dropped beside them. 2 more retreated deeper. They'll circle back. We need to move. Not yet. Maya's eyes were scanning the hostile position. See the one on the left radio antenna on his vest. He's their communications hub. Take him first, and you blind the others. Thornton adjusted his aim. The shot was difficult. 40 meters in low light with adrenaline turning his hands into trembling instruments of imprecision. I'll miss. No, you won't. Maya's hand touched his shoulder. Brief. Steadying. 3 years ago, you scored 97% accuracy in low-light simulation. I remember because I designed the scenario. Her voice dropped. You're better than you think you are, Senior Chief. Trust yourself. Thornton took a breath, steadied his weapon, fired. The communications hub went down. Move now. Maya was already running. What followed was not a battle. It was a surgical strike. 3 operators, 2 of them trained by years of combat experience, one of them carrying knowledge that seemed almost supernatural, tore through the enemy's rear position like a scalpel through flesh. Peterson flanked left, drawing fire. Thornton advanced center, placing shots with the precision that Maya had somehow known he possessed. And Maya herself moved like a ghost, appearing where enemies didn't expect striking, before they could react. In 90 seconds, it was over. 8 hostiles neutralized. Rear position collapsed. Drake's team was no longer surrounded. Thornton stood over the last hostile, his chest heaving. The man was still alive, bleeding from a wound in his thigh, staring up at him with eyes full of hatred. Who sent you? Thornton grabbed the man's vest, pulled him close. Who's behind this? The hostile spat blood. "You're all dead. You just don't know it yet." "Answer me." "Thornton." Maya's voice was calm, controlled. "Check his equipment. Right vest pocket. Inside lining." Thornton hesitated, then released the hostile and searched where she indicated. His fingers found something hard. Flat. He pulled it out. A data drive. Military encryption visible on the casing. "They weren't here to destroy Trident." Maya took the drive from his hand. "They were here to copy it, to steal everything I've built." The hostile laughed. It was a wet, gurgling sound. "Too late. The upload started 5 minutes ago. By now your precious system is halfway around the world." Maya's face changed. For the first time, Thornton saw something crack in that perfect control. Fear. Real fear. "The server room." She was already moving toward the main compound. "We have to reach the server room." "Maya, wait." She didn't wait. She ran. Thornton looked at Peterson. Peterson looked back. "Well," Peterson said grimly, "I guess we're following her." They ran. The main compound was chaos. Drake's team had held their position, but the cost was visible in the wounded men being dragged to cover the blood staining the concrete, the desperate shouts of operators trying to maintain communication without working radios. Drake saw them coming. His face was streaked with sweat and grime. "Flank collapsed." He grabbed Thornton's arm. "How? Her?" Thornton pointed at Maya's retreating figure. "She did most of it." Drake's expression flickered. Something that might have been shame crossed his features. "Where is she going?" "Server room. They're uploading Trident." Drake's face went white. "If they get that data..." "I know." They ran together now. Drake's remaining operators falling in behind them. A team that had been enemies 10 minutes ago, now united by something larger than their conflict. Maya reached the server room first. The door was reinforced steel, designed to withstand anything short of military-grade explosives. It was open. She stepped through without slowing. Drake shouted a warning, but she was already inside, already moving toward the central console where a figure in black tactical gear was hunched over a laptop. The figure turned. Male. Mid-30s. Professional operative. And in his hand a pistol pointed directly at Maya's chest. "Stop there." His accent was Eastern European. Russian, maybe. "One more step and I put a bullet through your heart." Maya stopped. Her hands came up slowly. Empty. "You're too late." The operative smiled. 87% uploaded. In 2 minutes, your entire life's work belongs to us. Who is us? Does it matter? Your government has enemies. Many enemies. All of them want what you've created. His finger tightened on the trigger. "I admit I'm surprised. They told me the architect of Trident was a ghost. A nameless genius, hidden behind layers of classification. I didn't expect..." He gestured at her with the pistol. "This. A child." "I'm not a child." "No," he laughed. "You're what 2021 you should be in college. Dating boys, worrying about exams. Instead, you're here about to die in a server room for a country that doesn't even know your name." Maya's eyes never left his face. "My father died for this country. His name was Elijah Sterling. He was a better man than you'll ever be." Something flickered in the operative's expression. Recognition. "Sterling." He repeated the name slowly. "I know that name. Yemen. 2021. The SEAL who wouldn't stop fighting." His smile widened. "My colleagues killed him. They said he kept coming even with 4 bullets in his chest. They had to put 2 more in his head before he finally stopped." The words hit Maya like physical blows. Her face drained of color. "You're lying." "Am I?" The operative's smile was cruel. "He died screaming your name. Maya, over and over. They thought it was a prayer. Now I understand. It was his daughter. He tilted his head. Do you want to know what his last words were? Shut up. He said, tell her I'm sorry. Sorry for what I wonder. Sorry for leaving you. Sorry for making you into whatever you are. The operative laughed. Sorry for giving you a reason to stand here and die. Maya's control shattered. She moved. The operative fired. The bullet should have hit her center mass, should have ended everything in a single moment of violence. But Maya wasn't where the bullet went. She was already under his arm, already rotating, already driving her palm into his elbow with a strike that bent the joint the wrong direction. His scream echoed off the server room walls. The pistol clattered to the floor. Maya didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Something had broken loose inside her, something that had been held in check for 4 years. She hit him again. And again. Each strike, carrying the weight of every tear she hadn't cried, every nightmare she had swallowed, every moment she had spent alone, with the knowledge that her father died, screaming her name. Maya! Drake's voice came from somewhere far away. Maya, stop! He's down, he's down! Hands grabbed her, pulled her back. She fought against them, her vision blurred, her breath coming in ragged sobs. The operative lay on the floor, breathing but barely. His face was a mask of blood. Drake held Maya's arms. His grip was firm but not cruel. It's over. You got him. It's over. Maya looked at the laptop. The upload counter had frozen at 91%. In her assault, she had knocked the cable loose. The data hadn't transferred. Trident was safe. She should have felt relief. Victory. Something. Instead, she felt empty, hollowed out, like the fight had taken something from her that she would never get back. He knew my father. Her voice was barely a whisper. He knew how he died. Drake's grip softened. Maya. He said my father died screaming my name. A tear escaped, cutting a path through the blood and grime on her face. He said he was sorry. He died saying he was sorry. Drake didn't speak. There was nothing to say. He just held her as the battle ended around them, as the last hostile was secured, and the compound fell silent. Thornton approached slowly. His face was tight with something that might have been respect, might have been sorrow. The data's secure, he reported quietly. Communications are back online. Reinforcements will be here in 15 minutes. Drake nodded, but didn't release Maya. She was crying now, really crying. The sobs shook her entire body. 4 years of grief, finally finding release in a server room surrounded by enemies and strangers. I never got to say goodbye. She choked on the words. I never got to tell him I was proud of him. I never got to tell him I understood why he kept going back. I never got to tell him. She couldn't finish. Drake pulled her closer. He didn't know this girl. An hour ago, he had been convinced she was the enemy. But in this moment, none of that mattered. He knew. Drake's voice was rough. Believe me, he knew. Across the room, Peterson secured the operative's hands. The man was regaining consciousness, groaning through broken teeth. What do we do with him? Peterson asked. Maya pulled back from Drake, wiped her face. When she spoke, her voice was steadier. The grief was still there, but something else had returned. That steel. That focus. He's intelligence. She looked at the operative with eyes that had gone cold. He knows who orchestrated this, who sold us out, who gave them the tunnel route. Her jaw tightened. Naval intelligence will want to talk to him. The operative laughed, a broken bubbling sound. I'll tell them nothing. Maya walked toward him, knelt down. Her face was inches from his. You killed my father. Her voice was soft, almost gentle. You took him from me. And now you're going to tell me everything. Not because they'll torture you. Not because you'll break under pressure. She leaned closer. But because I'm going to find everyone you love. Every friend. Every family member. Every person you've ever cared about. And I'm going to make sure they know exactly what kind of monster you are. The operative's smile faded. You think you know fear, Maya continued. You think you understand what it means to lose everything. I've been living in that darkness for 4 years. It's home to me now. Her eyes held his. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell Naval Intelligence everything they want to know. Every name, every location, every detail of this operation. And in exchange, I won't spend the rest of my life hunting down everyone you've ever loved. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the operative's expression crumbled. The arrogance disappeared. The cruelty evaporated. What remained was fear. Raw, primal fear. There's a mole, his voice shook. Inside SOCOM, high-ranking. I don't know the name, but I know the code name. He swallowed. Architect. Maya's blood went cold. Architect. The same name the operators used for her. Someone inside your own command structure has been feeding us information for years. The operative's eyes were desperate now, seeking any kind of mercy. They're the one who told us about Trident, about the tunnel, about you. He coughed. They wanted you dead. Specifically, you. The attack on the base, the false intelligence that made your people think you were a spy, it was all designed to get you killed before you could be verified. Drake stepped forward. You're saying someone in SOCOM tried to have her assassinated? The operative nodded. She's the only one who can trace the leaks. The only one who knows Trident well enough to find the fingerprints. They needed her eliminated. Maya stood slowly. Her mind was racing. A mole. Inside SOCOM. Using her code name. How do I find them? I don't know. I swear, everything came through dead drops, encrypted channels. I never met them face to face. The operative was crying now. Broken. Please, I told you everything. Please. Maya turned away. She couldn't look at him anymore. Couldn't stand the sight of the man who had helped kill her father, now reduced to a weeping shell. Drake was at her side. If there's really a mole... There is. Maya's voice was certain. It explains everything. How they knew about Trident's vulnerabilities. How they knew about my father's tactical reports. How they knew I was coming here today. Then you're not safe. As long as they're active, you're a target. Maya looked at him. Something had changed between them. The hostility was gone. In its place was something fragile. New. A bond forged in blood and battle. I know. She touched her throat where his zip ties had left bruises that would take weeks to fade. But I'm not running. Whoever this is, they killed my father. They tried to kill me. They tried to steal everything I've built. Her jaw set. I'm going to find them, and I'm going to destroy them. Outside, the sound of helicopters announced the arrival of reinforcements. The battle was over. But the war was just beginning. The helicopters landed in waves. Medical teams rushed toward the wounded. Military police secured the perimeter. Naval intelligence officers moved through the compound like sharks through bloodied water, their eyes sharp, their questions sharper. Maya stood apart from it all. She watched them load the captured operative onto a stretcher, watched them photograph the bodies of fallen hostiles, watched them document every spent casing, every bullet hole, every piece of evidence that proved someone had tried to burn Naval Special Warfare Command to the ground. And she waited. Drake approached her slowly. He had been debriefed 3 times already, his voice growing hoarser with each retelling. The medics had tried to check his wounds, but he had waved them off. There were men who needed attention more than him. "Admiral Cross is here." His voice was quiet. "Careful. She wants to see you." Maya didn't move. "Helena Cross. You know her. She knew my father." Maya finally turned to face him. They served together. Iraq, 2003. He saved her life. Drake absorbed this information. Another piece of the puzzle that was Maya Sterling. Another connection to a world he was only beginning to understand. "She's in the command center. She asked for you specifically." Maya started walking. Drake fell into step beside her. They moved through the chaos together, 2 people who had been enemies an hour ago, now bound by something neither of them could name. "The operatives claim." Drake kept his voice low. "About the mole. Do you believe him?" "Yes." "Why?" Maya stopped, turned to face him. "Because it's the only explanation that makes sense. The attack was too coordinated, too precise. They knew our communication frequencies. They knew our defensive positions. They knew about the tunnel." Her eyes hardened. "That's not intelligence gathering. That's inside information." "But Architect, that's your code name." "Which means one of 2 things." Maya resumed walking. "Either the mole chose that name to frame me, or—" She didn't finish the sentence. "Or what? Or they've been watching me for a very long time." The command center was crowded with officers, technicians, and analysts. Screens displayed satellite imagery, communication logs, and threat assessments. At the center of it all stood Admiral Helena Cross. She was 63 years old. Silver hair cut military short. A face that had seen 3 wars and countless classified operations. Her uniform bore the weight of 37 years of service, and her eyes held the kind of authority that could silence a room with a glance. Those eyes found Maya the moment she entered. "Everyone out," Cross's voice cut through the noise. "Now." Officers hesitated. Technicians exchanged glances. That wasn't a request. The room emptied in seconds. Only Maya, Drake, and Cross remained. Cross studied Maya for a long moment. Her expression was unreadable. "The last time I saw you, you were 16 years old." Her voice softened just slightly. "You were standing at Arlington watching them lower your father into the ground." Maya's throat tightened. "I remember. You didn't cry, not once. Your mother was devastated. The other families were falling apart. But you just stood there straight as a soldier watching everything with those eyes." Cross moved closer. "I wondered what you were thinking. What could possibly be going through the mind of a child who had just lost her father?" "I was thinking about his last letter." Maya heard herself speak. "He wrote it 3 days before he died. He told me to be strong. He told me to finish what he started." Her voice cracked just barely. "He told me that his work was more important than his life." Cross nodded slowly. "Elijah always believed that, even when it cost him everything." "Admiral." Drake stepped forward. "The operative claimed there's a mole inside SOCOM, codename Architect. He said they've been feeding information to hostile forces for years." Cross's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Something that looked like confirmation. "I know." Maya went still. "You know, we've suspected a leak for 18 months. Operations compromised, assets burned, intelligence appearing in enemy hands before we could act on it." Cross turned to a secure terminal. "What we didn't know was the source, or the code name." "Architect." Maya's voice was flat. My code name. Yes. Cross met her eyes. Which is why until 6 hours ago you were our primary suspect. The words hit Maya like a physical blow. She stepped back involuntarily. Me, you had access, you had capability, and you had something that most suspects don't. Cross's voice was clinical, detached. Motive. What motive? Revenge. Cross pulled up a file on the terminal. Your father's death wasn't a random ambush. It was a targeted assassination. Someone inside SOCOM gave his position to the enemy. Someone with access to mission planning. Someone who wanted Elijah Sterling dead. The room tilted. Maya reached for the wall to steady herself. Drake moved toward her. Maya, don't. She held up a hand. Just don't. She needed a moment. Needed to process what she was hearing. Her father hadn't died in combat. He had been murdered. Betrayed by someone he trusted. We couldn't prove it. Cross continued, her voice gentler now. The evidence was circumstantial. The trail went cold within weeks. But Elijah knew. Before he died, he sent me a message. 3 words. Maya looked up. What words? Cross typed something into the terminal. A message appeared on screen, dated 4 years ago, 3 days before her father's death. Trust the architect. Maya stared at the screen. Her father's final message, addressed to Cross, talking about her. He knew you would continue his work. Cross moved to stand beside her. He knew you would become the one person capable of finding the truth. He sent me this message so that when the time came, I would know to trust you. But you said I was a suspect. You were. Cross's eyes met hers. Until tonight. Until you risked your life to save this base. Until you fought beside men who had treated you as an enemy. Until you proved beyond any doubt that you are exactly who your father believed you would become. Maya's vision blurred. She blinked hard, refusing to let the tears fall. Not here. Not now. The mole. She forced her voice steady. How do we find them? Cross pulled up another file. The operative gave us a starting point. All communications went through encrypted dead drops, but every system leaves traces. Every transmission has a signature. She looked at Maya. Trident isn't just a training system. It's also the most sophisticated data analysis platform in existence. You built it to identify patterns that human analysts would miss. Maya understood. You want me to turn Trident against SOCOM. I want you to find the person who killed your father. Cross stepped back. And I want you to do it before they kill you. Drake had been silent through the exchange. Now he spoke, his voice rough. What do you need from us? Cross looked at him. Really looked at him, as if seeing him for the first time. Chief Drake, I've read the reports. I've seen the footage of what you did to this woman before the attack. Her eyes were ice. Give me one reason I shouldn't have you court-martialed. Drake stood at attention. I have no excuse, Admiral. I received false intelligence and acted on it without proper verification. I assaulted a fellow service member. I was wrong. You were more than wrong. You were exactly what our enemies hoped you would be. Paranoid, prejudiced, violent. Cross's voice cut like a knife. You played directly into their hands. Yes, ma'am. And yet, Cross's tone shifted. When the attack came, you trusted her. You gave her command of your men. You followed her into battle. She paused. Why? Drake glanced at Maya. Something passed between them. An acknowledgement of everything that had happened. Everything that had changed. Because she was right, his voice was quiet. And I was wrong about everything. Cross studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded. You'll stay with her. Both of you. Thornton and Peterson as well. Until we find the mole, Maya Sterling is the most important person in naval special warfare. She is also the most endangered. Her eyes hardened. Do not fail her again. Yes, ma'am. Cross moved toward the door. Paused. Maya. Admiral, your father was the finest operator I ever knew. He was also my friend. Her voice carried weight. Find the bastard who killed him, and when you do, make them pay. Then she was gone. Maya and Drake stood alone in the command center. The screens glowed with data, the weight of everything pressed down on them like a physical force. I'm sorry, Drake's voice broke the silence. For what I did, for what I said, for all of it. I know. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. Maya turned to face him. Her eyes were red, but her gaze was steady. My father used to say that the measure of a warrior isn't how many enemies they defeat. It's how many people they help become better. She paused. Even the people who hurt them. Drake's jaw tightened. I don't know how to be better. Then learn. Maya moved toward the terminal. Starting now. She began typing. Trident's interface came alive, displaying data streams and analysis protocols that Drake couldn't begin to understand. What are you doing? The operative's communications went through encrypted channels, but encryption isn't perfect. It leaves artifacts, digital fingerprints. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. My father taught me that every secret leaves a shadow. You just have to know where to look. Drake watched her work. Her face was illuminated by the screen, her expression focused intense. This was who she really was. Not the girl in the hoodie. Not the victim on her knees. This was the architect of systems that trained warriors. The daughter of a legend. The woman who would find her father's killer or die trying. Here. Maya's voice sharpened. There's a pattern. The dead drop communications. They all originated from the same source node. Can you trace it? Not directly, but I can identify the signature. She pulled up a comparison matrix. Every person who uses SOCOM's secure network has a unique digital footprint. Typing patterns, access times, query structures. It's like a fingerprint that most people don't even know they're leaving. Drake leaned closer. And you can match this signature to the database, in theory. Maya's fingers hesitated. But there's a problem. The signature matches someone with top-level clearance. Someone who has access to everything. Mission planning, personnel files, operational logistics. Who? Maya's face went pale. She pulled her hands back from the keyboard as if it had burned her. Maya, who is it? I need to verify this. Her voice was strange, tight. I need to be absolutely certain before, tell me. Maya looked at him. In her eyes, he saw something he hadn't seen before. Fear. Real fear. The digital signature matches Commander James Wheeler. She spoke the name like a curse. Deputy Director of Naval Special Warfare, and the man who approved my father's final mission. The command center seemed to shrink around them. Commander Wheeler. The man who had sat behind the desk when Elijah Sterling's death notification was delivered. The man who had spoken at his memorial service. The man who had looked Maya in the eye and promised her that her father's sacrifice would never be forgotten. Are you sure? Drake's voice was barely a whisper. The probability is 93%. Maya's hands were shaking. But I need more. I need evidence that can't be disputed. How do we get it? Maya closed her eyes, took a breath. When she opened them again, the fear was still there, but something else had joined it. Determination. Cold and absolute. Wheeler has a private server, off the official network. I found references to it in my father's personal files, but I never understood what they meant. She began typing again. If the mole has been operating for years, there will be records, communications, payment transfers, proof. And if you're wrong, if Wheeler is innocent, Maya's jaw tightened. Then I'll apologize. But I'm not wrong. I can feel it. Her voice dropped. My father knew. That's why they killed him. He was getting too close. Drake nodded slowly. What do you need? Time. Access. And... She hesitated. Protection. If Wheeler realizes I'm investigating him, he'll move against me. He has the resources, the authority. He could make me disappear and no one would ask questions. Not on my watch. Drake's voice hardened. You saved this base. You saved my men. Whatever you need, you've got it. Maya met his eyes. Something passed between them. An understanding. A promise. Thank you. She returned to the terminal. Her fingers danced across the keys, pulling up data streams, bypassing security protocols, diving deeper and deeper into the digital architecture of naval special warfare. Minutes passed, then hours. Thornton and Peterson arrived, exhausted but alert. They took positions at the door without being asked. Drake briefed them in low tones. Their expressions shifted from disbelief to anger to grim resolve. The sun began to rise outside the windows. Golden light crept across the floor of the command center, but no one noticed. All eyes were on Maya. I found it. Her voice cut through the silence. Everyone moved toward her. The screen displayed a complex web of connections. Names, dates, transaction records. Wheeler has been feeding intelligence to foreign operatives for 7 years. He's received over $4 million in payments, hidden accounts in Cyprus, Switzerland, and Singapore. Maya's voice was flat, clinical. He gave them troop movements, asset identities, mission parameters. Her hand trembled on the keyboard. And he gave them my father's position in Yemen. Drake stared at the screen. The evidence was undeniable. Names he recognized. Operations he had participated in. All of it compromised by a man they had trusted with their lives. There's more. Maya pulled up another file. 6 months ago, Wheeler authorized my visit to this base. He signed the orders. He scheduled the timing. She turned to face them. He set this whole thing up. The false intelligence, the attack. All of it was designed to eliminate me and blame it on foreign operatives. Why now? Thornton spoke for the first time. Why target you after all these years? Because I'm getting too close. Maya's voice hardened. Trident isn't just a training system. It's a surveillance platform. Every communication that passes through SOCOM's network leaves a trace in my system. Wheeler didn't realize it at first, but recently he must have figured it out. He understood that eventually I would find the evidence, so he decided to eliminate me before I could. Peterson shook his head. This is insane. Wheeler is a hero, 3 silver stars, 30 years of service. Why would he betray everything he built? I don't know. Maya's eyes went distant. But I intend to ask him. Drake stepped forward. You can't confront him alone. He's too powerful, too connected. I won't be alone. Maya looked at each of them in turn. I'm going to present this evidence to Admiral Cross. She'll authorize an arrest. Wheeler will face court-martial. Justice will be served. And if Cross doesn't believe you, Maya's expression didn't change. She will. She knew my father. She knows me. And she knows that I would never make this accusation unless I was certain. Drake wanted to argue, wanted to protect her. But he saw the look in her eyes and understood that nothing he said would change her mind. Then we go together. He squared his shoulders. All of us. Maya nodded. For the first time since the nightmare began, something like hope flickered in her eyes. Together. They gathered the evidence, copied the files, prepared their case. Maya moved with a focus that bordered on obsession, checking every detail, verifying every connection. They were almost ready when the door to the command center opened. Admiral Cross entered. Her face was grave. Maya, there's something you need to see. Admiral, we found... Now! The tone of Cross's voice stopped Maya mid-sentence. She looked at Drake. He nodded. They followed Cross through the corridors. Medical personnel rushed past them. Shouts echoed from somewhere ahead. Cross led them to the medical bay, pushed open the door. Inside, surrounded by doctors and monitors, lay Ryan Cole, the young SEAL who had taken a bullet during the battle, the one Maya had seen fall, the one she had thought was safe. He was dying. The bullet fragmented. Cross's voice was hollow. Internal bleeding. They missed it during the initial examination. Maya moved toward the bed. Cole's face was pale, his breathing shallow. Tubes and wires connected him to machines that beeped with failing hope. His eyes opened. Found Maya. You. His voice was a whisper. The girl from the tunnel. I'm here. Maya took his hand. I'm here. Cole's lips moved. She leaned closer to hear. You were amazing. A ghost of a smile. The way you fought. The way you moved. He coughed. Blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. My little sister. She wants to be a SEAL. Everyone tells her she can't. She's too small. Too weak. His grip tightened on Maya's hand. Tell her. Tell her about tonight. Tell her what you did. I will. Maya's voice broke. I promise. Cole's eyes began to close. Stay with me. Maya squeezed his hand. Stay with me, Ryan. Can't. His voice was fading. But it's okay. I did something good tonight. I helped. His eyes found hers one last time. That's enough. That's enough. His hand went limp. The monitors screamed. Doctors rushed forward, but Maya already knew. She had seen death before, had felt its cold presence at Arlington standing over her father's grave. She stepped back. Let the doctors work, knowing it was pointless, knowing that another warrior had fallen. Drake appeared beside her. His hand touched her shoulder. Maya. She didn't respond. Couldn't respond. The weight of it all was crushing her. Her father. The betrayal. The battle. And now this boy, this young SEAL who had died saving people he barely knew. I need to finish this. Her voice was ice. I need to end it. Now. She turned and walked out of the medical bay. Drake followed. Thornton and Peterson fell in behind them. Cross watched them go. Her face was lined with grief and something else. Pride. Maya Sterling moved through the corridors like a force of nature. Her eyes were dry. Her jaw was set. Every trace of the vulnerable girl who had cried in the server room was gone. In her place was something harder, something forged in loss and tempered by fire. She was going to find Wheeler, and she was going to make him pay for every drop of blood he had spilled. Maya found Admiral Cross in the corridor outside the medical bay. The older woman's face was a mask of controlled grief, but her eyes betrayed her. She had seen too many young men die. Too many promises broken by bullets and bad luck. "Admiral," Maya's voice was steel. "I need to see Commander Wheeler, now." Cross didn't flinch. "You found something." "I found everything." Maya held up the data drive. 7 years of treason, $4 million in payments, and the proof that he ordered my father's assassination. The words hung in the air like smoke after an explosion. Cross took the drive, turned it over in her hands. When she looked up, her expression had changed. The grief was still there, but something else had joined it. Something cold and absolute. "Wheeler is in the main conference room. He arrived an hour ago to oversee the investigation." Her voice dropped. "He doesn't know we're onto him." "Good." Maya started walking. "Maya." Cross grabbed her arm. "If you go in there, you need to be prepared. Wheeler is dangerous. He's killed before, and he'll kill again if he feels cornered." "I know what he is." Maya pulled free. "I've known since I was 16 years old. I just didn't have a name for it." She walked away. Drake fell into step beside her. Thornton and Peterson followed like shadows. The main conference room was at the heart of the command building. Through the glass walls, Maya could see Wheeler standing at the head of the table speaking with junior officers, gesturing at screens displaying damage assessments and casualty reports. He looked exactly as she remembered. Silver hair, distinguished features, the kind of face that belonged on recruiting posters and medal ceremonies. The face of a hero, the face of a murderer. Maya pushed through the door. Wheeler looked up. His expression shifted through several emotions in rapid succession. Surprise. Recognition. And then so quickly that most people would have missed it, fear. "Miss Sterling." His voice was smooth, professional. "I didn't expect to see you here. I was told you were injured in the attack." "I was." Maya moved toward him. The junior officers stepped back instinctively, sensing something dangerous in the air. "But I recovered. Funny how that works." Wheeler's smile didn't reach his eyes. "I'm glad you're safe. Your father was a good man. He would have been proud of how you handled yourself tonight." "Would he?" Maya stopped 3 feet from Wheeler, close enough to see the pulse jumping in his throat. "Tell me, Commander, what exactly would my father have been proud of? The battle? The way you fought?" Wheeler spread his hands. "I've already heard reports. You were magnificent." "I learned from the best." Maya's voice hardened. "My father taught me everything. How to fight, how to think, how to recognize a traitor when I see one." The room went still. Wheeler's smile faded. "I don't understand what you're implying." "Then let me be clear." Maya pulled out her phone, pressed play on the audio file she had prepared. Wheeler's voice filled the room, captured from communications she had traced through Trident's data logs. "The Sterling girl is a liability. She's too close to the truth. Eliminate her during the extraction. Make it look like enemy action." The recording ended. Wheeler's face had gone white. His eyes darted toward the door, calculating distances, evaluating options. "That's fabricated." His voice cracked. "That's not my voice. Someone manipulated $4 million. Maya cut him off. "Hidden accounts in Cyprus, Switzerland, and Singapore. Transaction records going back 7 years. Every payment traced to intelligence you provided to foreign operatives." She stepped closer. "Every operation you compromised. Every asset you burned. Every soldier who died because you sold them out." Wheeler's mask crumbled. The distinguished commander disappeared. What remained was something ugly, something desperate. "You don't understand." His voice had changed. Lower, rawer. You can't possibly understand what it's like. 30 years of service. 30 years of watching politicians make decisions that get good men killed. 30 years of being told to do more with less while the real enemies laughed at us. So you became one of them. Maya's voice was ice. You became the enemy. I became practical. Wheeler's hands clenched at his sides. The money wasn't for me. It was for leverage, for influence, for the ability to actually make a difference instead of following orders from people who have never seen combat. My father saw combat. Maya's voice broke for the first time. My father spent his entire life serving this country, and you had him killed. Wheeler flinched. Your father was a problem. He was getting too close, asking too many questions. If he had just let it go, he would still be alive. Maya finished the sentence. And you would still be betraying everything he believed in. For a long moment, no one moved. The junior officers had pressed themselves against the walls, trying to become invisible. Drake and his team stood ready, hands on weapons, waiting for Wheeler to make a move. Wheeler's shoulders sagged. The fight seemed to drain out of him. He died well. His voice was barely a whisper. If it matters. He died fighting, protecting his men until the very end. I know how he died. Maya's eyes were burning, but she refused to let the tears fall. I know he died screaming my name. I know his last words were an apology. Her voice cracked. What I want to know is why. Why would you destroy someone who trusted you? Someone who called you a friend? Wheeler looked at her. Really looked at her. And for the first time, Maya saw something besides calculation in his eyes. Something that might have been regret. Because he was better than me. The words came out like a confession. He was everything I pretended to be. Brave, honorable, incorruptible. Wheeler laughed bitterly. Do you know how exhausting it is to stand next to someone like that? To know that every time people look at him, they see what you're supposed to be, what you'll never be. So you killed him. Maya's voice was hollow. You killed him because he made you feel small. I killed him because he was going to expose me. Wheeler's jaw tightened. I killed him because I had no choice. There's always a choice. Maya stepped back. You just made the wrong one. She turned to Drake. Take him. Drake moved forward, restraints in hand. Wheeler didn't resist. He simply stood there watching Maya with those empty eyes. It won't matter. Wheeler spoke as Drake secured his wrists. The people I worked for, they're bigger than one man. Bigger than one operation. You can arrest me, but you can't stop what's coming. Maybe not. Maya met his gaze. But I can make sure you pay for what you've done. They led Wheeler out of the conference room. Admiral Cross was waiting in the corridor, flanked by military police. Her face was granite. Commander James Wheeler. Her voice carried the weight of decades. You are under arrest for treason, conspiracy to commit murder and conduct unbecoming an officer. You will be transported to a secure facility pending court-martial. Wheeler said nothing. He simply walked head down, a broken man in handcuffs. Maya watched him go. She had imagined this moment 1,000 times, had dreamed of confronting her father's killer, of seeing justice served. She had expected to feel triumph, victory, closure. Instead, she felt empty. Drake appeared beside her. It's over. No, Maya shook her head. It's not. He said there were others, people bigger than him. This isn't the end of anything. Then we'll find them. Drake's voice was firm. Whatever it takes, however long it takes, we'll find them all. Maya looked at him. This man who had been her enemy hours ago, who had hurt her, threatened her, nearly killed her. Now he stood beside her like a soldier, like an ally, like something she didn't have words for. Why? The question escaped before she could stop it. Why do you care? After everything that happened, why are you still here? Drake was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough with something that sounded like pain. My daughter. The words came slowly, like he was pulling them from somewhere deep. Emma. She was 19 years old. Maya went still. You have a daughter. Had. Drake's jaw tightened. She died 2 years ago. Training accident at Camp Pendleton. She wanted to be the first female SEAL. She trained every day, pushed herself harder than anyone I'd ever seen. His voice cracked. She was so close, so damn close. Maya felt the ground shift beneath her feet. I didn't know. Nobody knows. I don't talk about it. Drake looked away. When I saw you walk into this base today, I saw her. Same age, same determination, same fire in your eyes. His hands clenched. And I hated you for it. Drake, let me finish. He took a breath. I hated you because you were alive and she was dead. I hated you because you had everything she wanted. I hated you because looking at you reminded me of everything I lost. His eyes found hers. What I did to you in that room, the way I treated you. It wasn't about security. It wasn't about protocol. It was about grief. Grief that I've been carrying for 2 years because I was too proud to ask for help. The confession hung between them, raw and painful and real. Maya felt something shift inside her. The anger she had been carrying, the resentment for what Drake had done. It didn't disappear, but it changed. Became something softer, something closer to understanding. What was she like? Maya heard herself ask. Emma. Drake's face transformed. The hardness melted away, replaced by something tender, something broken. She was fierce. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Stubborn as hell. Once she decided she wanted something, nothing could stop her. Not the doubters, not the obstacles, not even me. He laughed softly. God, we fought about her joining the military. I wanted her to go to college, get a safe job, have a normal life. But she wanted to be like you. She wanted to be better than me. Drake's voice thickened. And she would have been. She was already better. Faster. Smarter. More adaptable. He paused. The day she died, she was running a tactical exercise. Equipment failure. The kind of thing that happens one time in a million. His hands shook. One time in a million, and it happened to my little girl. Maya reached out, touched his arm. It was the first physical contact between them that wasn't hostile. I'm sorry. The words felt inadequate, but she said them anyway. I'm so sorry. Drake looked at her hand on his arm. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. After she died, I threw myself into work, took every dangerous assignment I could find, convinced myself that if I just kept fighting, kept killing enemies, the pain would stop. He shook his head. It didn't. It just got worse. And the worse it got, the more I blamed everyone around me. Women in the military. Young people who thought they could do what Emma couldn't. Anyone who reminded me of what I lost. That's why you treated me the way you did. Yes. Drake met her eyes. And it was wrong. Inexcusable. I hurt you because I was hurting. I made you an enemy because I needed someone to blame. His voice broke. I'm sorry, Maya. I'm so damn sorry. Maya studied his face. The pain there was real. The regret was genuine. This was a man who had been destroyed by grief and was only now beginning to put himself back together. She thought about her father, about his lessons, about the warrior's code he had taught her before she was old enough to understand it. My dad used to say that forgiveness isn't about the other person. Her voice was quiet. It's about you. It's about refusing to let someone else's actions turn you into something you're not. Drake's eyes glistened. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Maybe not. Maya squeezed his arm. But I'm giving it to you anyway. Not because you earned it, because holding on to anger would only hurt me. She paused. And because I think my dad would want me to. Drake's composure cracked. A single tear escaped, cutting a path down his weathered face. Thank you. The words came out broken. I don't know what else to say. Just thank you. Maya released his arm. There's a way you can repay me. Anything. Be better. Her eyes held his. Emma wanted to be a warrior. Honor her by becoming the kind of leader she would have been proud of. Help the women who come after her. Protect them. Train them. Give them the chance she never got. Drake nodded slowly. Something was changing in his face. The grief was still there, but it was different now. Less destructive. More purposeful. I will. His voice was steady. I promise. Admiral Cross approached them. Her expression was unreadable, but there was something in her eyes that might have been approval. Wheeler is secured. He'll be transported within the hour. She looked at Maya. The investigation will take months, maybe years, but because of what you did tonight, we'll eventually dismantle his entire network. Eventually isn't good enough. Maya's jaw tightened. He said there were others, people he worked for. People who are still out there. I know. Cross nodded. Which is why I'm authorizing a special task force. Off the books. Answer directly to me. Her eyes met Maya's. I want you to lead it. The offer hung in the air. Me, Maya shook her head. I'm not military. I'm not even officially employed by the Navy. I'm just the architect of Trident. Cross cut her off. The daughter of Elijah Sterling, the woman who single-handedly saved this base and exposed the highest-ranking traitor in SOCOM history. She stepped closer. You're not just anything, Maya. You never were. Maya felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. This wasn't what she had planned. She had come here to evaluate a training system, not to uncover conspiracies and lead secret operations. But wasn't this exactly what her father had prepared her for? Hadn't every lesson, every simulation, every late-night conversation been building toward something like this? I need time. Her voice was hoarse. To think, to process everything that happened. Take all the time you need. Cross stepped back. But know this, your father spent his life protecting this country. Now it's your turn to decide if you want to continue his legacy. She walked away, leaving Maya alone with Drake and the weight of impossible choices. Thornton approached quietly. The medics are asking for you. Maya looked up. What? Petty Officer Cole. Thornton's voice was gentle. His sister arrived an hour ago. She's asking to speak with the woman who was with him when he died. Maya's heart clenched. She had forgotten about Ryan Cole. Forgotten about the promise she had made. Where is she? Medical bay. Waiting room. Maya started walking. Every step felt heavy, but she didn't slow down. She had made a promise to a dying man. She intended to keep it. The waiting room was small and cold. A young woman sat alone on a plastic chair, her face red from crying. She couldn't have been more than 18. Dark hair, determined jaw, eyes that reminded Maya painfully of her brother. Sarah Cole. The girl looked up. Are you her, the one Ryan was talking about? Yes. Maya sat down beside her. I was with him, at the end. Sarah's face crumpled. He called me, before the attack. He was so excited, said he was finally going to prove himself. She wiped her eyes. He always felt like he had to prove himself, because he was the youngest, because people kept telling him he wasn't ready. He was ready. Maya's voice was firm. He saved my life tonight. He saw the enemy aiming at me, and he put himself in the way without hesitation. She paused. That's not someone who wasn't ready. That's a warrior. Sarah's crying intensified, but there was something else in her expression now. Pride mixed with the grief. He said you were amazing. Sarah's voice was thick. In his call, he said you fought like something out of a movie. He said you proved that size doesn't matter, that being a woman doesn't matter, that the only thing that matters is heart. Maya felt her own eyes burning. Your brother had more heart than most people I've ever met. I want to be like him. Sarah's jaw set. I want to join the Navy, train to be a SEAL. Everyone tells me I can't. I'm too small, too weak. Girls don't belong in special operations. Her eyes found Maya's. But you did it. You proved them wrong. Maya thought about Emma Drake, about Ryan Cole, about all the young people who dreamed of being warriors, but were told they weren't enough. Your brother asked me to tell you something. Maya leaned forward. He asked me to tell you about what happened tonight, about what I did. She paused. He wanted you to know that it's possible, that everything they say about what women can't do, what small people can't do, what young people can't do, it's all lies. Sarah was listening with an intensity that Maya recognized. She had felt it herself 16 years old, standing at her father's grave, vowing to continue his work. I'm going to do it. Sarah's voice was steady. I'm going to become a SEAL. For Ryan. For everyone who said I couldn't. Then I'm going to help you. Maya pulled out her phone. I'm going to give you my contact information, and when you're ready, when you've done the training and put in the work, call me. I'll make sure you get a fair shot. Sarah took the phone. Her hands were trembling, but her eyes were clear. Why would you do that? You don't even know me. Maya thought about her father, about his lessons, about the legacy he had left behind. Because that's what warriors do. She stood. We protect each other. We lift each other up. We make sure the next generation is stronger than we were. She walked out of the waiting room without looking back. Drake was waiting in the corridor. His expression was different now. Softer. More human. What did you tell her? The truth. Maya kept walking. That her brother died a hero, that she has what it takes to follow in his footsteps. Does she? Maya stopped, turned to face him. I don't know, but she deserves the chance to find out. Her eyes held his. Everyone deserves that chance, even the people we doubt, even the people we're afraid of. Drake understood. She wasn't just talking about Sarah Cole anymore. Even me? Maya smiled. It was small and tired and genuine. Especially you. The sun was setting over Naval Special Warfare Command. Golden light streamed through the windows, painting everything in shades of amber and hope. Maya stood alone for a moment, watching the light fade. In her pocket, her father's dog tags pressed against her leg. Cold metal that carried the weight of everything he had been. everything he had died for. Tomorrow, there would be more battles, more enemies, more impossible choices. But tonight, she had kept her promises. She had found her father's killer. She had saved the system she built. She had planted seeds of hope in a young woman's heart. For now, that was enough. 6 months had passed since the night that changed everything. Maya Sterling stood in a state-of-the-art training facility at Naval Special Warfare Command, watching a new class of operators move through their combat drills. The Trident 2.0 system hummed around them, projecting scenarios that pushed them to their absolute limits. She had rebuilt the entire platform from the ground up. Every algorithm refined, every weakness eliminated. Every lesson learned from that terrible night encoded into the system's core. The operators didn't know who was watching them. They didn't know that the young woman in the observation booth had designed every challenge they faced, every impossible situation they were learning to survive. They just knew that the training was harder than anything they had experienced before, and that it was making them better. "They're improving," Drake's voice came from behind her. "Reaction times are down 18%. Accuracy is up 23%. Casualty rates in simulation have dropped by half." Maya didn't turn around. "It's not enough. It's never enough for you." Drake moved to stand beside her. "That's what makes you who you are." 6 months had changed him too. The anger that had defined him was still there, but it was different now. Controlled. Purposeful. He had completed his mandated counseling. Started a peer support group for soldiers dealing with grief and loss. Become an advocate for women in special operations. He was a different man. Quieter. More thoughtful. The kind of leader his daughter would have been proud of. "Wheeler's trial started yesterday." Drake's voice was careful. "Closed proceedings. Maximum security. They're throwing everything at him." Maya's jaw tightened. "Good. The prosecutors say he'll never see daylight again. Life sentence at minimum, possibly execution for treason during wartime. It won't bring my father back." Maya finally turned to face him. "It won't bring Ryan Cole back. It won't undo any of the damage he caused." "No." Drake met her eyes. "But it's justice. That has to count for something." Maya thought about justice. About revenge. About all the things she had wanted in those dark hours after she learned the truth about her father's death. She had imagined Wheeler's trial 1,000 times, had dreamed of watching him be destroyed, of seeing everything he built crumble around him. But now that it was happening, she felt nothing. No satisfaction. No triumph. Just emptiness, where the anger used to be. "I visited his grave yesterday." She spoke quietly. "My father's. First time since the funeral." Drake was silent. Waiting. "I stood there for 3 hours. Tried to talk to him. Tried to tell him everything that happened." Maya's voice cracked. "But the words wouldn't come. I just stood there staring at his name on that stone, wondering if he would be proud of who I've become." "He would be." Drake's voice was firm. "I never knew your father, but I know you. And I know that everything you've done, everything you've built, everything you've survived, it's exactly what he raised you to be." Maya wanted to believe him, wanted to feel the certainty that came with knowing she had honored her father's legacy. But doubt still gnawed at her. It always had. "The task force," when she changed the subject. "Admiral Cross wants my answer by end of week." Drake nodded. "Have you decided?" "I don't know." Maya turned back to the observation window. "Leading a black ops unit hunting down the rest of Wheeler's network, it's not what I planned for my life." "What did you plan?" Maya laughed softly. It was a bitter sound. I was going to finish my degree, get a job at a tech company, maybe teach combat programming to military contractors. She shook her head. Normal stuff, safe stuff, the kind of life my father never got to have. And now, Maya didn't answer. Through the window, she watched the operators move through their drills, young men and women pushing themselves beyond what they thought possible, becoming warriors because of her. The door to the observation booth opened. Thornton stepped in, his expression urgent. Maya, you need to see this. She followed him without question. Drake fell in behind them. They moved through corridors that had become familiar over the past 6 months, past security checkpoints and classified areas until they reached a small briefing room. Admiral Cross was waiting inside. Her face was grave. Sit down. It wasn't a request. Maya sat. Her heart was beating faster. Something was wrong. She could feel it. 3 hours ago, we intercepted a communication from a foreign intelligence network. Cross pulled up a display on the wall screen. The message was encrypted, but our analysts managed to decode it. Text appeared on screen. Maya read it again, felt the blood drain from her face. Architect status confirmed. Primary target remains viable. Proceed with extraction. They still think you're working for them. Cross's voice was cold. Wheeler was just one node in a much larger network, and someone somewhere believes you're still an asset they can use. Maya's mind raced. That's impossible. Wheeler is in custody. His communications are monitored. There's no way, unless there's another mole. Drake spoke the words no one wanted to hear. Someone else inside SOCOM who's been feeding them information. The room fell silent. Cross nodded slowly. That's our assessment. Wheeler wasn't acting alone. He had a partner, someone who's still active, someone who's been watching you for the past 6 months. Maya felt the walls closing in. She had thought it was over, had believed that Wheeler's arrest meant safety, security, the chance to finally breathe. She had been wrong. Who? Her voice was barely a whisper. We don't know. Cross pulled up another file. But we've narrowed it down. The communication originated from within this facility. Someone with high-level clearance, someone who has regular contact with you. Maya looked at the list of names on screen. 12 people. All of them familiar. All of them colleagues she had worked with, trained with, trusted. One of them was a traitor. This is why I need your answer. Cross turned to face her. The task force I proposed isn't just about hunting Wheeler's network. It's about finding the mole, protecting Trident, protecting you. Maya stared at the names. 12 faces flashed through her mind. 12 people she had shared meals with, laughed with, confided in. One of them wanted her dead. I'll do it. The words left her mouth before she could stop them. I'll lead the task force. Cross nodded, no surprise in her expression, as if she had known this would be Maya's answer all along. There's one more thing. Cross hesitated. Before you commit, there's something you need to see. She led them out of the briefing room, through more corridors, downstairs that Maya had never noticed before, into a section of the facility that wasn't on any map she had ever seen. They stopped in front of a reinforced door. Cross typed a code into the keypad. What you're about to see is classified beyond any clearance level you currently hold. Her voice was heavy. Only 7 people in the world know this room exists. The door opened. Maya stepped inside, and her world collapsed. Sitting in a chair surrounded by monitoring equipment and armed guards was a man she had buried 4 years ago. Elijah Sterling looked up at his daughter. "Hello, Maya." His voice was exactly as she remembered. "I'm sorry it took so long." Maya couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The room spun around her reality, fracturing into pieces that refused to fit back together. "No." The word came out broken. "No, this isn't. You're dead. I buried you. I stood at your grave, an empty casket." Elijah's eyes were wet. "A necessary deception. To protect you. To protect everything we built." Maya felt hands on her shoulders, Drake steadying her, keeping her upright when her legs wanted to collapse. 4 years. Her voice rose. 4 years I thought you were dead. 4 years I carried your dog tags, visited an empty grave, cried myself to sleep wondering if you died thinking about me. She was screaming now, grief and rage pouring out in equal measure. 4 years. Elijah didn't flinch. He absorbed her fury like a man who had been expecting it, who had been dreading it. "I know." His voice cracked. "I know, and I'm sorry. More sorry than I can ever express." "Why?" Maya tore free from Drake's grip, moved toward her father. "Why would you do this? Why would you let me believe? Because they were watching." Elijah stood slowly. His movements were careful, deliberate, like a man who had learned to be cautious in every gesture. Wheeler's network wasn't just selling intelligence. They were hunting anyone who got too close to the truth. If they knew I was alive, they would have come for you, for everyone I loved. So you faked your death. Maya's voice was hollow. You let me grieve. Let me suffer, to protect me. To keep you safe. Elijah stepped closer. Everything I did, every choice I made was to give you a chance to live, to grow, to become who you were meant to be. His eyes searched her face. And you did. You became magnificent. Maya felt tears streaming down her cheeks. 4 years of grief. 4 years of loss. 4 years of shaping herself into a weapon to honor a dead man's memory. And he had been alive the whole time. I hate you. The words came out choked. I hate you for leaving me, for lying to me, for making me think I was alone. I know. Elijah reached out. His hand touched her face. Gentle. Familiar. I hate myself too. Every day I've been in hiding, every night I've spent wondering what you were doing, who you were becoming. I hated myself for not being there. Maya grabbed his hand, held on like she was drowning. You're here now. Her voice was raw. You're really here. I'm here. Elijah pulled her into his arms. And I'm never leaving again, I promise. Maya collapsed against him. The grief she had carried for 4 years transformed into something else. Relief. Joy. The overwhelming sensation of being held by the one person she had thought she would never see again. They stood like that for a long time, father and daughter, reunited against impossible odds. Finally, Maya pulled back, wiped her eyes, looked at her father with a clarity that cut through the emotion. Why now? Why reveal yourself after all this time? Elijah's expression hardened. Because Wheeler's arrest changed everything. The network knows someone is closing in. They're getting desperate. He paused. And because there's a threat coming that I couldn't stop alone. What threat? Elijah looked at Cross. The Admiral nodded. The mole inside SOCOM isn't just feeding information. Elijah's voice was grave. They're planning something. An attack that will make what happened 6 months ago look like a training exercise. Maya felt the ground shift beneath her feet. What kind of attack? They want Trident, not a copy. The entire system. And they're willing to destroy this facility, kill everyone inside to get it. Elijah's jaw tightened. The communication you intercepted wasn't about extracting you. It was about timing. They're coming, Maya. Soon. The room fell silent. Drake stepped forward. When? We don't know exactly, Cross answered. But based on the intelligence we've gathered, we believe we have less than 48 hours. Maya's mind raced. 2 days. 2 days to find a mole among people she trusted. 2 days to prepare for an attack she couldn't predict. 2 days to protect everything she had built. The 12 names on your list. She turned to Cross. I need access to all of them. Their files, their communications, everything. Done. And I need a team. People I can trust absolutely. Drake. Cross nodded toward him. Thornton, Peterson. Anyone else you want? Maya looked at her father. You. Elijah's eyes widened. Maya, you've been watching this network for 4 years. You know things that aren't in any file. Things that could help us find the mole. She stepped closer. I spent 4 years trying to continue your work. Now I need you to help me finish it. Father and daughter stared at each other. A lifetime of separation and secrets hanging between them. Then Elijah smiled. It was small and tired and proud. You really have become magnificent. He touched her shoulder. Your mother would be so proud. Maya flinched. Mom, does she know? Elijah's expression flickered. Pain crossed his features. She knows. She's been in protective custody since I disappeared. Part of the deception. He paused. She's been waiting for this moment. The moment we could finally come home. Maya felt fresh tears threatening. Her mother. Alive. Safe. Waiting. She had thought she was alone in the world. An orphan carrying the burden of a legacy she could barely understand. She had been wrong about everything. After this is over, Maya's voice steadied. After we find the mole and stop the attack, we're going to see her, together. Together. Elijah nodded. I promise. Maya turned to face the room. Drake, Thornton, Peterson, Cross, her father, her team. 48 hours. Her voice was strong now. The grief and shock pushed aside, replaced by the focus that had carried her through every impossible situation. We have 48 hours to find a traitor, stop an attack, and save everything we've built. She looked at each of them in turn. Let's get to work. The next 36 hours blurred together. Maya dove into data streams and communication logs with a ferocity that left her team struggling to keep up. Elijah worked beside her, his knowledge of the network's patterns filling gaps she hadn't known existed. One by one, they eliminated names from the list. Good people, loyal people, soldiers who had dedicated their lives to serving their country, until only one name remained. Commander Sarah Mitchell, Deputy Director of Training Operations. A 30-year veteran with an impeccable record. A woman who had mentored dozens of young operators. A woman Maya had trusted completely. Are you sure? Drake's voice was tight. Mitchell has been here since the beginning. She trained me when I was a rookie. The evidence is conclusive. Maya pulled up the analysis. Communication patterns, access logs, financial transfers to offshore accounts. Her voice hardened. She's been playing us all for years. Elijah studied the data. His face was unreadable. I knew Sarah. His voice was quiet. She was at our wedding. She held you when you were a baby. He looked at Maya. She told me she would always look after you. Maya felt sick. Another betrayal. Another person she had trusted revealed as a monster. She's been watching me this whole time. Maya's hands clenched. Reporting on everything I've done. Everything I've built. Which means she knows you're getting close. Cross stepped forward. If she realizes we've identified her, she'll trigger the attack. Maya finished the sentence. We need to move. Now. They found Mitchell in her office. She was sitting at her desk, reviewing training schedules, looking exactly like what she pretended to be, a dedicated officer doing her job. She looked up when Maya entered, smiled. Maya, what a pleasant surprise. I was just thinking about you. I bet you were. Maya's voice was ice. Mitchell's smile faded. Her eyes moved past Maya, taking in Drake and Thornton. At the door, Elijah, stepping out of the shadows. Her expression changed. Recognition flickered. Then fear. Elijah. Her voice cracked. You're supposed to be dead. Disappointed. Mitchell lunged for her desk drawer. Drake was faster. He grabbed her arm, twisted it behind her back, forced her down. It's over, Sarah. Elijah moved closer. We know everything. The payments, the communications, the attack you've been planning. Mitchell struggled against Drake's grip, then stopped, laughed. You think you've won? Her voice was bitter. You think arresting me changes anything? The network is bigger than one person, bigger than Wheeler, bigger than all of you combined. Maybe. Maya stepped forward. But we'll find them, every single one. And we'll tear your network apart piece by piece until there's nothing left. Mitchell looked at her. Something shifted in her eyes. Something that might have been respect. You really are Elijah's daughter. She shook her head. He always said you were special. Said you would change everything. A bitter smile. I should have killed you when I had the chance. Why didn't you? Mitchell was silent for a long moment. Because part of me hoped he was right. Her voice dropped. Part of me wanted to see what you would become. She laughed again. I guess I got my answer. Drake pulled her to her feet. Get her out of here. They led Mitchell away. Maya watched her go, feeling nothing. Another traitor exposed. Another wound that would take years to heal. Elijah put his hand on her shoulder. It's over. His voice was gentle. You did it. Maya shook her head. It's never over. There will always be more threats. More enemies. More battles to fight. True. Elijah turned her to face him. But you don't have to fight them alone anymore. You have a team. You have support. He paused. You have me. Maya looked at her father. This man she had mourned. This ghost who had returned from the dead. This warrior who had sacrificed everything to protect her. I thought I lost you. Her voice broke. I thought I would spend the rest of my life trying to honor a dead man's memory. And instead, Maya smiled. It was small and tired and real. Instead, I get to honor a living man's legacy. By continuing his work, by protecting the people he trained, by building something that will outlast both of us. Elijah's eyes glistened. That's all I ever wanted for you. I know. Maya pulled him into a hug. I know. 3 months later, Maya stood in a different training facility watching a different class of candidates. Buds Class 352. The most diverse class in naval special warfare history. Men and women from every background, every walk of life, united by one purpose to become warriors. Among them was Sarah Cole. Ryan's sister had kept her promise. She had trained harder than anyone thought possible, had pushed through every obstacle, every doubt, every voice that told her she couldn't. Now she was here, fighting for her place among the elite. Maya watched her move through a combat drill. Sarah was fast, precise, determined. Everything her brother had been, and something more. Something that was uniquely hers. Drake appeared beside Maya. She's going to make it. His voice held certainty. Top 10% of her class. I know. Maya smiled. She has her brother's heart. And something else. Drake paused. She has someone who believed in her when no one else did. Maya didn't respond. She just watched Sarah fight, remembering a promise made in a hospital waiting room. A promise to help, to support, to give a young woman the chance she deserved. The task force is requesting your presence. Drake checked his phone. New intelligence on the network. Possible lead on the remaining cells. Tell them I'll be there in an hour. Drake nodded and walked away. Maya stayed at the window, watching, remembering. So much had changed in the past year. She had found her father, lost friends, exposed traitors, built something that would protect warriors for generations to come. And she had discovered who she really was. Not just the daughter of Elijah Sterling, not just the architect of Trident, not just a young woman who had stumbled into a world of secrets and violence. She was a warrior, a protector, a builder of other warriors. Her phone buzzed. A message from her father. Your mother is asking when you're coming for dinner. She says to tell you she's making your favorite. Maya smiled. Typed back. Tell her tomorrow. I have work to finish first. She put the phone away, looked back at the training floor. Sarah Cole was moving through a hand-to-hand combat sequence. Her opponent was bigger, stronger, more experienced. It didn't matter. Sarah adapted, adjusted, found weaknesses, and exploited them. She won. Maya touched the dog tags around her neck. Her father's tags still carried, even though he was alive. A reminder of what she had survived, what she had become. A warrior's legacy isn't measured by the battles they win. She whispered the words her father had taught her so long ago. It's measured by the warriors they create. Through the window, Sarah Cole looked up. Their eyes met. Sarah nodded once, a gesture of acknowledgement, of gratitude, of shared purpose. Maya nodded back. Then she turned and walked away, toward the task force, toward the next battle, toward whatever challenges waited in the shadows. She was ready. She had been ready her whole life. The sun set over Naval Special Warfare Command, painting the sky in shades of gold and fire. Somewhere out there, warriors Maya had trained were standing watch, protecting, fighting, surviving. Because of her, because of her father, because of every sacrifice, every lesson, every moment of pain and triumph that had brought them to this point. The story of Maya Sterling was not over. It was only beginning. But the foundation had been laid. The legacy had been secured. And in training facilities across the country, young men and women were becoming warriors, learning to fight, learning to protect, learning that courage was not the absence of fear, but the determination to act in spite of it. They were the new generation. And Maya Sterling had built them. She had kept her promise. She had honored her father's legacy. And she had proven beyond any doubt that the measure of a warrior was not the battles they won or the enemies they defeated. It was the warriors they left behind.